lives. Once again, they've been put in this position more often than they want it to be, where they're in danger of getting knocked out in the group stage of champions.
For the 3rd consecutive season.
But there's always, well, there used to always be NLB waiting for them, but then last season they got that taken away from them too by CJ and Just Blaze. So Sword definitely wants to prove themselves, and they have a shot. I mean, any of these teams in Group C had that shot. Of course, Sword now in a locked situation against Blue.
Well, and we're looking at a situation too for Najin Black Sword where it's a team with a lot of history. It's a team that's been to 2 World Championships now, both in Season 2 and in Season 3.
Yeah.
And if they get knocked out of groups, they will most likely not go to Worlds, even if they win Champion Summer.
Yes, they'll have way too little points.
Yeah, due to the circuit point changes, and the only reason they won they got the ticket last year was because they won one season and then won NLB twice. Now the winning points for NLB have been lowered, and they didn't even win NLB.
Exactly, they're actually quite behind in terms of points.
This is really a do or die moment for Najin Black Sword. Of course, Samsung Blue not quite in that. Well, they're pretty much in the same position too, actually.
Right, but they don't have as much of history as Black Sword. But Blue also, they've used to be hailed as the kings of off-season here in Korea because they do so well whenever there's no champions going on, and then they come into champions and they start looking a little bit inconsistent.
I mean, I don't think that's fair because they made the quarterfinals last season and they were the ones who drew SK Telecom K. So I don't really see that as indicative of their skill. I think Samsung Blue, had they been on the other side of the bracket, could have made at least the semifinals.
Oh,
I think they were a very strong team. Then we did have that very stacked side of the bracket last season. So I think they have been unfairly pigeonholed into that role, in my opinion.
And let's see, what are they going to pick up? We ran through the bans. Bans are pretty much straight down the line, the same stuff back and forth. And Wukong being highlighted by Samsung Blue, but Yasuo is banned out. Of course, Wukong is still a very good team fight jungler. But Spirit did very well in that Elise. Meanwhile, on Blacksword, they went for the Lucian and Lee Sin again.
All right, so Renekton gets picked up by Acorn this time. Otherwise, we see 4 of the same champions on the same team. So Samsung Blue wanting to keep that Thresh away from Heart, and Kane maybe wanting to play that Leona again. Limit switching over to Shyvana. And of course, he's very comfortable with the Shyvana-Renekton matchup. We've talked about it. He's much more a safe player. This will give them better scaling into the late game, something that Najin Black Sword fell behind on a little bit last time around, and they're saving that mid counter pick. Of course, Nagne did pick up the early kill onto Dade, and Helios did a good job of keeping Dade down in the mid lane, blowing summoners left and right, picking up a kill or 2, and so Nagne will have the freedom to play that LeBlanc again, or possibly play something. Orianna would be good in this composition. Orianna would be very good in this composition.
Yeah, with that Shyvana. And also Leona works out very well.
Yes, indeed. So Ori would be good here. And they're not going to play mid-cog. That's terrible.
What if they played mid-Quirky? Ooh. Yeah, have you ever thought about that one?
Now, if we had seen the Orianna pickup, and mid-Quirky is thought of sometimes as a counter pick to mid-Orianna, but we haven't seen that. And Dade, that would be very odd.
Yeah, Dade and Ari, not something you expect, nor is Kog'Maw. Yeah, Orianna, much more predictable from Dade, and Kog'Maw on Deft. Now, Deft usually is that guy who just kind of sits back and puts out auto attacks, although Kog'Maw with no escapes kind of makes it hard for Deft. We will say, in set 1, not Acorn, of course, Heart, the support player, did do a good job of protecting Ezreal, so we'll see if he does that again, but Heart, sometimes he goes off and wants to make bigger plays himself. Deft is going to have to watch out for himself.
Okay, so Ziggs will be locked in for Nagne in response. Perfectly fine pick here, and another champion that'll scale well late. So at least Najin Black Sword won't run into the same compositional problems that they had in the last game. This is, I think, a much more solid roster, especially given the style of some of the players like Limit.
Yeah, Nagne, one of the players who was in the early group of players bringing Ziggs to Korea. He started playing it in NLB, showed very good use of it with that Lich Bane, and now, of course, other players known for that Ziggs play. But as we look at the matchups once again, jungle is the same matchup. Top, of course, we have a little bit of a switch. And in mid, Dade picking up that Orianna as Nagne goes for his Ziggs. And the 80 carries is where a lot of attention is going to be put with Deft on Kog'Maw, the new Cog. His sister team, AD carry, Imp, showed us some Kog'Maw before. Of course, Imp, a very well-known Kog'Maw player. So see how Deft does here.
Yeah, very different circumstances. However, Kog'Maw was paired with Karma. They did the 2v2 in the mid lane in that game. Probably not going to happen this time, but we'll have to see if they want to go for the 2v1. Of course, they have that early Renekton pressure should they choose to use it into Shyvana.
All right, well, let's get ready to go into set 2 as we see fans cheering on Nal Ra for his commentating. Set 2 between these two teams. Let's go into the game to see if Samsung Blue can just secure their spot in the quarters or if Najin will bring them to another tiebreaker. Set 2 between Samsung Blue and Najin Black Sword.
Hard has no trinket.
It's the new meta. Can't use it anyway, why buy it?
This is in protest. In protest.
Heart's like...
Heart's on strike. He's on trinket strike.
I hope he will realize and go back home.
Oh, this may mess up their level 1, though. Well, Limit coming in. He did start with an early ward, though, so placing that up in advance of the blue buff. Hart, are you going to realize what is going on?
Hart's still getting chased around by very deep invade from Black Sword.
This is very odd. Now, the last time we saw Black Sword playing on this patch, it was interesting. They've actually changed their level 1s a little bit, but Black Sword was known. Remember how they used to go for the 4 ward invades on 4.4? They're the only team in Korea that will put down like 4 wards at level 1. And not quite so many this game, just a couple, but they do tend to 5-man train through the enemy jungle very early. And so Black Sword definitely looking for the 2v1 this game.
Yeah, they get that deep ward.
That deep ward, they know the placement of that ward where neither turret can see it. Of course, Hart did sense it out. And in fact, Hart's path around was just to look to see if they were doing that because Najin Black Sword, their only 2 games on the 4.4 path, they did it twice. So I think this is just really good preparation from Samsung Blue, being aware of Najin Black Sword's level 1 warding tendencies. And so they've got the information, and so they're calling the 2v2. Now, will Najin Black Sword respond right here?
Well, they weren't spotted by the ward. Now, Hart, as you said, sensing where that ward might be, decides to go through middle and then up the jungle. So Deft and Hart were not spotted as they go up. And it's just going to be a 2v2 up here in top. So Sword not getting the ideal situation they were looking for. Meanwhile, Limit just going to farm up those wolves, and Acorn actually just going to farm up lane.
Yeah, so Samsung Blue, they saw the ward coming in. They knew that that probably meant that Najin Black Sword wanted to 2v1 up in the top lane, so they just very boldly sent Acorn directly into the lane, whereas Najin was anticipating having Renekton up here on top, so Limit went to the jungle. Now this is going to give Acorn a pretty substantial advantage in the lane, and he would already have that with Renekton, so Limit is going to have to play this extremely cautiously.
Yep, we already see Acorn at level 2. Limit just getting to lane. Death Sentence not going to hit Prey as both duos hit level 2. Spirit prepared for possibly a gank with that level 2 Lantern, but doesn't find it, so he will just go back as Helios once again going for these aggressive deep wards and some counter jungling.
Now, Ziggs Orianna mid lane matchup. Ori gets pushed in very hard by Ziggs early on, and indeed it's really difficult to farm against a Ziggs, but Ziggs does have to play it pretty aggressively in order to deny that CS and harass Orianna. And the problem is, of course, is Ziggs not the greatest in escapability, but Helios is there.
Yeah, he doesn't get hit by the Cocoon either, and Helios coming in for the counter gank. They lock Dade up against the wall, but Nagne has taken way too many hits. Spirit goes a bit too deep. He has to blow his flash. Helios now chasing through. Dade, will he get away? Uses his barrier, but there's the execution coming in from Helios, and a double kill for Black Sword. Samsung Blue getting a bit cheeky in this mid lane. Nagne has to watch out for the death sentence, but it's just hard. No, here comes Acorn with a slice and dice. Wait, can he get the kill? There's the safeguard.
No, he won't get it.
Nagne lives with only 22 health, thanks to the safeguard from Helios. What a play by these two guys, Helios and Nagne, turning things around.
Also, to Samsung Blue's credit, Acorn and Heart roaming like that to try and get those double buffs back, to try and get something out of that situation was just the decisiveness to have two players immediately come. Fantastic from Blue. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Now some dueling going down in the top lane.
2v2, there's the Ignite on to Heart, but they're not going to be able to go through. Kane just too tanky right now, and Deft was a bit far off, gets zoned by that Leona. So yeah, Acorn had a nice slice and dice to go for the stun, but just didn't have the damage to finish off Nagne.
And this is a disaster for Samsung Blue because they lost the advantage that they had in the bottom lane also. Now we see the CS lead going over to Limit. Limit has been able to catch up in levels as well. So Najin Black Sword firmly in control of this one. They've got 2 winning lanes already, and Helios is trying to make it 3.
Yeah, Helios looking for a gank here on top. Kane should be able to get it. No, there's a Lantern for Deft to fly off on, but if Kane got that stun, Deft was a dead Void Puppy.
Void Puppy, huh?
That's what Kog'Maws are, man.
maybe if Uzi plays him, he's a Void Puppy.
And Helios just going back to the jungle.
What does a Void Dog look like? What does Kog'Maw grow into? That
Actually, Kog'Maw's the Void Dog, and the Voidlings from Malzahar are the Void Puppies.
Okay,
there we
gotcha.
go.
It's like Kog'Maw. Well, they should introduce the fully grown version of Kog'Maw into League of Legends. That sounds terrifying.
The Cho'Gath would be the Void Saint Bernard here in League of Legends. And Hart now just roaming around. He leaves his AD to farm up because the enemy duo went back home. Nagne, danger of a gank, but he's preparing for that satchel charge. He's actually drawing in for a counter gank. He gets hit by the cocoon this time, though. Gets pulled back a little bit overconfident with Helios there. They didn't expect Hart to come in right away, although they saw him clearing that ward.
Yeah, that was pretty bad from Najin Black Sword.
I tried to save myself with the sentence there. But well, double buffs going back and forth between these two teams, both getting just overconfident and underestimating the enemy team's plays here and back up. Hart now with an assist, back up in top lane. He has that Sight Stone, whereas Kane has chosen to go for an extra pink ward once again.
And Limit getting zoned off by Spirit right here. Spirit, like you said, with the double buffs back on him. Ooh, nice dodge.
Yeah, he does dodge, but takes some damage. So Helios has to come in to help
Acorn is 6, Limit
stabilize
is
this lane. But yeah, Limit takes a lot of damage from the Slice Dice and the Cold of Me. Can he get one more hit? He's going in, doesn't get the kill. They turn around onto Helios as Spirit tries to keep Lee Sin locked down. No kills resulting. Meanwhile, in top lane, we see the duos fighting each other. Hart has already used his CC, so has Kane. So no follow-up there. Mega Inferno Bomb coming in. Both players actually dodged the damage. Acorn, of course, not in threat of dying yet.
Yeah, not going to get the tower, though, so that'll relieve some pressure. I'm not sure exactly what Limit was thinking right there, juking back into that one when he wasn't 6. That is an extremely difficult situation for Shyvana. And you'll notice, too, Limit did go for the Chain Vest first, probably didn't have enough money for the Giant's Belt, so the damage coming in off of Spirit, the AP damage, just cutting straight through him. Has to be really careful.
And Prey getting shoved out a little bit as Kane goes toward, but it's just back and forth between these duos. Of course, Prey slightly ahead in CS thanks to the early advantage Lucian has, but I'm sure that will equalize over time.
Looks like Spirit will be going for the same build. Ancient Golem once again. Not going to be quite as effective as it was last game. There's a lot more sustained damage from Najin Black Sword. They're not as reliant on the burst.
Indeed. But having an extra tank never hurt. Spirit just going to help take this blue buff for Dade as Dade actually starts leashing it himself. Takes it for him, and Spirit's double buff still on him for a short bit, but I don't think it will matter the next time he ganks. It should be gone. Prey takes good damage from the living artillery coming out from Kog'Maw.
Well, Kog'Maw hit 6 first, so Prey just slightly behind right now. There we go. Got the culling up in case he needs it. But no real kills up in this lane, and in spite of Heart's roaming, I feel like Prey and Kane really haven't been as aggressive this game as they could have been. A couple big roams from Hart, and against an immobile AD carry, you have to be willing to pull the trigger. That's when you punish the Kog'Maw. And the Kog'Maw, Jobra, has not been punished.
He's been a good Kog'Maw. Hasn't been punished yet. At limit.
You must punish the Void Puppy.
We saw Spirit preparing for a gank up and top, but he didn't get a chance there as Prey and Kane shoved up pretty hard. And we're looking at this matchup. Acorn taking advantage of the lead he got, just forcing Limit into duels, bringing him low, and then he'll just Koldamik these minions to lifesteal back up.
This is how it should go. Acorn up. Well, he's not actually that far up for 10 minutes, so playing it fairly well. And he's just moving into actually Spectre's Cowl first. Bit of an interesting build right there from him. Not going for that typical, more aggressive Tiamat that we would see in this matchup. So playing it a little more conservatively, playing it a little more tanky. And this means that he's probably going to want to group and fight earlier and be less dedicated to split pushing and pushing the Shyvana in.
Yeah, and that will of course help him take less damage from Ziggs too,
yeah,
who will be pretty
important.
hard. Now Limit in threat of a gank from Spirit. Spirit and Helios both just looking for opportunities, no one really finding one, and Spirit goes in for the Cocoon, he hits, but Limit just in time flies away with Dragon's Descent at the very end of that stun duration.
Helios is here.
He's safe for now. Helios should be coming in for some assistance. There's a Mega Inferno Bomb. Helios does not connect with a Shockwave, so they don't look to turn around for a kill. Deft gets caught by Leona. There's the Ignite on him. He will be safe for now as Hart tries to keep them zoned with the box.
Yeah, this is what we should have been seeing out of Prey and Kane earlier as well. As soon as the jungler shows or the support leaves, support shows in a different lane, you just all in the Kog'Maw. You have to put him down early just because he does represent such a massive damage threat in the late game.
And Deft tries to farm up. He does still have
Prey
barrier.
still has 2 summoners though, so
yeah.
They know where Helios is. The only reason why they're staying is because they see Helios in bot lane.
Yeah, and also with that barrier and Lantern, you should be able to.
And they know that Nagme's ult is down.
know a lot of things.
They know some very important things that are allowing them to stay there in the lane, but here we go.
Oh, another fight. Deft gets caught by the flash. Deft no escape right now. Already used his barriers, trying to put down damage as Dade's coming up. They wanted to fight this 3v2, but they don't find it. Dade actually just got trying to get the shockwave at the Kane, but Hart, no communication there between these two guys. Prey does go down to the tower as we see a 2v2 in bottom. Acorn goes down first. A nice play by Helios and Limit. Helios has to jump out, but there's a repel from Spirit. Helios just dragging time out long enough for Limit to try to pick up the kill, but he has to watch out for the Cocoon, and Spirit will walk away with the red buff.
Well, a lot of cross-map action right there. Looks like Najin Blacksword actually coming out a little bit more favorably in terms of that. Overall,
Acorn going down meant a lot, although neither top laner got the kills. This gives Limit time to catch up, or catch up and maybe even get ahead in terms of items, but he's just going to go back early, it seems.
Yeah, unfortunately for Prey, Kane actually picking up the kill up in the top lane, but Deft did ultimately get punished. And like I said, I just wish we had been able to see more of this aggression from Prey and Kane early, and they may regret this come the late game. They don't have hardly any lead right now.
And Dade, of course, picking up a kill for himself, so evening up the kill score against Nagne with his roam top lane. Both mid laners now have that Athene's. Dade with an extra Doran's ring in his arsenal. And Kane going for the solar flare, doesn't get the stun, but look at the damage coming from Prey. Prey's going for the kill on the culling, but Lantern just in time from Hart to save his AD carry. Hart's been busy roaming about and going back home, getting more wards. Almost hurt for Deft.
Another great timing. Hart going to clear out the pink ward in the river brush. And it looks like double Golem's going to be the play for Prey and Kane, as they wait for Kog'Maw to get a little bit further forward, see if they can actually force Kog'Maw into an uncomfortable position while his flash is still down. They've got a lot of time to work with.
Yeah, flash still only at that 7 o'clock position on the icon for his cooldown. Helios taking this time to go for a blue invade, or his own blue rather.
Yeah, it's passing it off to Nagne, and Limit going back now. This bottom tower, be a little bit careful with this. But Nagne does have his ultimate up in case he needs to clear that minion wave. And just playing a little bit of defense in the meantime. Wow, Spirit pink warding and going for a solo here.
Wow.
With the Spirit of the Ancient Golem.
This is doable with those spiralings. We get the check from Nagne, but Dragon still goes to Samsung Blue. Spirit takes some damage from Helios, but Helios does not want to jump in without his teammates in range.
Wow, great call from Spirit just to go ahead, place them on the pink ward. They knew that Limit had already backed and had suspected that the blue buff was being taken, so there was a really good timing window there. A little bit bold. Typically you see the Dragon for Blue timing window, you know, from the other direction, as in Najin Blacksword on the red side would be taking advantage of that because they know that Dade and Spirit are on their blue side of the map, far away from the Dragon Pit. But some good aggressive play from Samsung Blue will net them a little bit of an objective and a little bit of a gold lead.
And Limit now just trying to stay even with Acorn, which is good news for Shyvana as Helios takes his own red. Top lane we saw Hard just freezing those minions in front of the tower and going for a killer. Nice death sentence as Prey tries to dash away. Prey is donezo here in the top lane. Spirit picks up the kill. Kane trying to run away, just gets whatever CC he can, but nice positioning by Hart. Keeps him locked down. Spirit picks up both kills, and now the three-man squad going for a push as Helios was a bit late on the backup.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just didn't have a good enough read right there. Spirit able to sneak into the lane, and just some great thresh play by Hart. I mean, both of his thresh play tonight has been great overall. Yes. Both games really showing why it was first rotation pick worthy for this Samsung Blue support player. Nagne going to clear out the minion wave, and wow, they're just going to keep pressing forward right now. That's going to prompt Limit to do a little bit of proxy farming. Of course, when we do see Shyvana hit that 9-10 level, that's when she can proxy farm against Renekton.
Man, Prey just a second too late on
a great hook.
Yeah, very well read by Hart. I think Prey was wondering if it was going to hit or not, dashed a bit too late, and from there on...
Lantern Spirit in as well.
And good positioning keeps Kane locked in against the wall. And there he is looking happy about his hook. And now we're going to see Acorn actually come to that top lane as they send Deft bottom. They already took the tower and top, so Deft just going to go ahead and now start farming bottom lane and shove it up. They're also sick of Limit.
Yeah, this is the timing window where Shyvana will start to just bully around while Prey has to burn his flash.
Yeah, and he still gets Cocoon. Here comes Acorn with the dominance. Prey stayed a bit too far. He suspected Spirit showing up right away, and there he was. Prey now with 3 deaths. This is not what Black Sword wants.
He hasn't had a good night overall, and that was a pretty big overextension right there when they didn't have a lot of wards down on the map to see exactly what was going on. But Spirit is in the right place at the right time, and now the gold lead is widening for Samsung Blue. Now, it's not the end of the world.
Dade going to get caught by Zenith Blade on top of the Solar Flare, going in for the kick on Dade towards the tower. He's trying to run away. Nice shockwave. Keeps Kane and Nagne locked down, but Nagne picks it up with his Mega Inferno Bomb. Spirit taking a lot of damage from these bouncing bombs. Kane goes in with his Zenith Blade. Repel can't come down anywhere else. Nice minefield, a second too late, but Hart with the death sentence onto Nagne brings them back in. Limit actually gets shot forward with the play. Limit goes for the kill against Spirit, but that leaves Nagne way far off, and Kane gets flayed backwards for a double kill onto Deft. They're just feeding the Kog'Maw. Limit comes back in, but he doesn't have the damage nor the tankiness. Prey shows up a bit late. Acorn going for the kill. He doesn't step on the minefield. Nagne doesn't have an answer. He does jump over the wall, but this Renekton is happy to chase through. Nagne doesn't have an escape as Hart now pinches around. At this point, Nagne just trying to spend as much time as possible for Samsung Blue not to push. As Nagne dodges the death sentence, he's still alive, just dancing back and forth. Eventually dies to Acorn.
Yeah, Prey clearing out some minion waves in the meantime. And Deft got very low there as Limit chased him down. Limit did what he could, did pick up a kill in that fight overall. A little bit back and forth, and Dade will have no trouble clearing out the minion wave. So no objective taken, and actually the gold lead increasing in favor of Samsung Blue. Najin Blacksword a little bit on the ropes right here. While they do have better scaling, late game scaling than last game, fundamentally it's still about even with Samsung Blue here. Of course, Orianna and Kog'Maw going to be pretty scary
Yeah.
at 30 minutes.
Kog'Maw with 2
Helios.
kills and an assist, and Dade goes kicked away from the lane, but a nice shockwave because Helios slowed down. He jumps forward with that shockwave, resonating strike. Dade trying to run away with distance, dodges the last shockwave to survive. Helios will not find a kill in that lane.
Did what he could, but Dade, okay shockwave. Did the job at the very least. He does get knocked out of lane, however. And the lane's going in favor of Najin Blacksword right now. They've got this Shyvana where they want her up against this Renekton. There's always that opportunity to proxy farm and put some more pressure on the turret. Acorn really can't do much against Limit with this Sunfire Cape and the Ninja Tabi.
Yeah, and Dade will now go home to farm. Heart's been on fire this game. His roaming and his backup timings perfect for Samsung Blue.
And his rotations have not been punished. The real issue here is that he's been allowed to roam, and there hasn't really been much counterplay from Najin Blacksword. There is a weakness on the map when he's in your mid lane, and you have to take advantage of it. Otherwise, he just chunks out your mid laner, gets some kills.
Uh-oh, Blacksword going for a pick. Heart smells it. He goes and checks the dragon, knows that they're not there. That means they're hiding somewhere. Meanwhile, Acorn going for a red buff steal, and Kayn will just clear that ward. And Samsung Blue responding with that middle tower push. A nice Inferno Bomb from Najin will keep it safe for now.
Dragon goes over.
Yep, Dragon goes
to Sword. So they finally get the global objective right here. They need more global gold at the moment. They have to get some towers down in order to catch up, because otherwise the pushing power coming in from Samsung Blue, the long-range attack. Heart with a nice zone, trying to catch a rotation onto the Tier 2 turret. Great positioning. Now let's see, Najin Blacksword may be willing to give up a Tier 2 for this Tier 1, a bold play.
Yeah, well, like you said, they just need some of their own gold right now, but Nagane has to run away as Heart now comes in for a pinch. A shockwave brings Nagane down, but Heart's already targeted onto Helios. Heart still flashes forward and plays while keeping Helios hooked.
Heart is just controlling this map by himself. It's very impressive. If you guys are support players, watch Heart's map movements right here, because he protected his carry and top laner up on the Tier 2 turret.
Limit goes in with his ultimate, but he gets cocooned right away. No answer for that. Heart tanking the tower a little bit for his teammates. Now they're just going to trade tanking the tower to take it. Will chase Sword off, but like you said, Monty, Heart, he helped zone for the top tower and then came mid, hooked the jungler, then flayed the target.
And helped save the pressure on the mid. So they actually get a Tier 2 in exchange for nothing. And in fact, they get a kill off of it as well. So just really excellent map awareness from Heart. Of course, it's easy to see his thresh mechanics have been great this game.
Oh, yes.
But his decisions about where and when to go on the map have been superb as well.
And so they also get that mid Tier 1 as a reward for his play. And Blacksword starting to feel the pressure. I'm sure they're just the concept of being knocked out is looming over them again in that booth. They have to step it up, but Heart dominating map control right now. Acorn trying to do what he can, but Shyvana with the Sunfire. Now Spectre's Call is doing very well, so Heart going to show up to help him out again.
Helios standing in a ward right now. Doesn't have a lens to sweep it out.
Just got his lens off cooldown.
Yes, it's the...
And Limit actually gets hooked in. Acorn goes for the stun. Limit flashes over the wall. Repel does land onto Limit. Helios is there for backup.
Did you see that? It was the double tank support gank again.
Ah. The Gank-a-Tank game. Heart's favorite game, actually.
Wow. These ganks are actually really bad from Samsung Blue.
Oh, Heart.
Limit didn't have his ult down. Actually, Limit, if he had his ult up, he would have been able to get out of that without even using Flash.
Deft gets the Void Ooze onto Kayn, but he still got a little bit tricky trying to put some damage onto Leona. Eventually gets caught by all the CC. Goes down to a culling. Heart was there in time again, but too much damage coming in, and Deft getting caught by every single crowd control skill.
Do you see what happens when you gank the split pushing Kog'Maw compared to the split pushing Shyvana?
Yeah, Heart might have to review his priority of minigames here. Gank carry doesn't have a nice ring.
It doesn't rhyme, therefore irrelevant. Heart only likes rhymes.
There we go. learning a lot from Kane and Prey.
Their rapping duo,
Yeah.
Crazy and Kanye West.
He's been listening to them too much. He's like, yeah, Gank a Tank. This is actually Kane and Prey's new album. They're just brainwashing hard. They're like, our new album is called Gank a Tank. It's #1 on the charts. That's all Hart can think about now.
Just humming it to himself.
Limit in the endless duel against Acorn. And now that they are at half health, this might be an okay gank from either team. Kane is here with Helios, but Hart's going to clear that ward, so he will be spotted. He doesn't know Helios and Kane are there. Nice check with the Lantern. Kane just moves on forward right away with the Eclipse.
Hart has taken so few risks this game.
Yeah, and it shows 0, 0, and 8. Very few risks, but the right plays gives him 8 assists out of 11 kills for the team. And of course, a lot of saves if we have to take those into account.
Yeah, and his roaming and his ability to pick up kills in other lanes and keep pressure on have resulted in Najin Blacksword surprisingly not even able to take out a tower so far, which in 24 minutes is a pretty solid feat.
Yeah, no towers. For Black Sword, of course, they have been able to get a Dragon. They've gotten some kills of their own, and Dragon will spawn again in a minute. Is Sword going to make another play for it? As you said, Monty, they need those gold boosts for the entire team, not just one person anymore.
Yeah, they got to do something. Now, they're going to be in a good position to do the Dragon at the very least, and there's not really a way that Samsung Blue is going to be able to put pressure onto an inhibitor this early unless they all in it up in the top lane. We'll see if that's going to be their decision, but otherwise, since the 2 towers are already gone and red buff going to be taken right now, this is theoretically a pretty safe Dragon without a lot of counterplay. So Samsung Blue is going to have to choose to give it up or to fight it, really.
You know, Blue does get the red buff seal, as you mentioned. Spirit's going to be the one picking that up. Acorn just zoning for his teammate. As we see Dottie going for his blue Dragon up in 10 seconds. Black Sword trying to shove in mid first. They do have the better positioning. Acorn just went home. He's going to take some time to return to lane as Limit is already here for a 5-man push. Keeping the enemies zoned with that Ziggs, but Orianna with the nice clear. Of course, Kog'Maw also can clear fairly fast. So Black Sword not going to get a tower, and now they're just kind of caught in limbo here in the mid lane. Limit's Banshee's get taken off, but he dodges the death sentence. So if he had gotten caught, that may have been bad news for Black Sword. And Samsung Blue actually going to be in better position now with Black Sword rotating top towards that Baron buff to clear the ward. Maybe paying for it with a Dragon. Blue will be able to just finish it quietly. No contest from Black Sword as Samsung Blue just leaves actually Spirit alone. They realize they haven't been spotted, so Spirit will just solo the Dragon.
I don't know why Najin Black Sword decided not to even move towards that Dragon at all. Like you were saying, Acorn had already gone back to the base. They actually had a timing window where they could have done it. Really questionable call there from Sword.
Well, Kane will dive in towards Dottie. They don't get the Solar Flare. Nice flash in from Dottie as Acorn flashes in with his Slice and Dice and gets the stun onto Nagne. Prey trying to duel. A good Shockwave. Dual Shockwave giving a kill to Samsung Spirit as Helios also gets taken down by the Kog'Maw. A nice death sentence by Hart once again to keep Prey locked down. Limit the only one alive. They'll let the Dragon live to go for the Baron for Samsung Blue.
I have no idea why that was the time they decided to make a play, Chobra. That was just... this is very confusing. Najin Black Sword kind of returning to their more erratic play calling that we saw in previous seasons right now. It looked like they had ironed out quite a few of these problems, but they're really rearing their head tonight. And not only will they get the Baron, but Samsung Blue able to get a Tier 2 turret off of this as well. So Dragon, Baron, Tier 2 turret going down in favor of Samsung Blue with really no answer from Najin Black Sword. They are just not prioritizing the right things. You know, I understand not going for that Dragon. Najin Black Sword had the Tier 1 up in top and in mid. There was a possibility they could have traded 2 turrets for that Dragon, but instead they just sat around in the mid lane, didn't take even mid tower, and allowed Acorn to walk all the way back, and then chose what appeared to be a rather arbitrary timing for an all-in under a turret when they were behind.
Yeah, it was pretty close to the turret, so I was a bit surprised too at Kane's choice. And now they're just going for the picks. But Hart, as you mentioned, has been so cautious. Checks every brush before making a play.
This guy is really getting into Najin Blacksword's head, and the amount of time that Sword has wasted trying to create picks on him has been very damaging as well. And that's not Sword's fault. Sword is doing this right. It's just that Hart is so on top of it that he's not getting caught.
Yeah, his caution and then just mind games with Sword have been very good, giving him a score of 0-0-11 so far out of 15 kills. Countless saves after that. And we do see, I really didn't realize we were in EU LCS, Monty, because I'm seeing that Trinity Force on Kog'Maw, and there's just, there's these tiebreakers coming up.
I didn't even see that.
Genja's in the game. Just a lot's going on.
The Genja is real.
The Genja is real.
Channeling his inner Genja. Oh my. Well, that is a very strange build, but...
Well, he probably saw Dandy becoming a great jungler by learning from Diamond, and he was like, well, maybe I can do that by learning from Genja. Pick up a Trinity Force on my Kog'Maw. I'm sure Genja will be very happy about this game.
Now, it's worth noting that this probably came from Imp, who learned it from Genja at the World Championship. In fact, we saw Imp playing that Trinity Force Kog'Maw at Worlds. So it has made its way around the Samsung house. Now, Imp did not build T-Force on Kog'Maw the last time we saw him. Now,
Acorn going for a nice flank. Shockwave brings two people in. Acorn helps pick up one kill. Nagne will eventually go down. And a nice box keeping the entire Black Sword team split up. Acorn diving past the inhibitor turret to go for Helios and gets the kill. Kog'Maw also way back in there, and Spirit just keeping this tower locked down for his team. A nice setup from both Hart and Acorn.
A clean ace as well. So perfect ace here for Samsung Blue, and most likely the game, and that will mean the third consecutive season that Najin Blacksword fails to make it out of groups here in Champions. Quite surprising, and they're going to have a long road to make it back to the World Championship this year if they can't win or take second place in Champion Summer.
There is a sad man in the audience who has face paint for Najin, and he just looks destroyed, as if he's lost his soul. Came all the way to cheer for Black Sword, it seems. Look at this, Acorn gets that, and a nice shockwave pulling back both carries as Hart takes away both tanks.
And just good shot calling too.
And Helios had to use his kick just to push Dade away, so that leaves Deft for free damage, as Deft now just follows in after Acorn, who's tanking the tower for him. Good play. Just very good team coordination on that flank. Of course, it was past the tower, so even with a Baron buff, could have been risky, but perfect timing from both. And Hart will not catch the red buff, so he'll still go to Prey, and Prey's had a rough night. 0-5-2 in the second game.
And Dade has looked as gloriously inconsistent as ever, sometimes having amazing shockwaves, and then other times not so much. That's what we expect from Dade, but even so, 6-2-6. Curiously taking distortion with only flash. I suppose he's very concerned about being caught out of position.
Yeah, and at this point, I think, they don't really have any need for a home guard, so might as well.
Well, he bought that distortion enchantment a long time ago, actually. I didn't mention it, but yeah, pretty early on into this game, so.
Well, always nice to have that flash up. Inferno Bomb and Calling Use to clear that wave, a bit over-committing to clearing one wave because a new one will show up soon after. Bottom is pushing up with those super minions. And I think Nagne and Prey just missing communication on that one. Black Sword looking very lost, not sure what to do. They had an okay lead in this game as they did in game one. In fact, probably a better one in set two here, but Prey can't shove Acorn off. Acorn goes for the Dominus and the dive. The Shockwave, will they get a nice one? No, Dade's just waiting. Pulls in Kane as he comes in with the Zenith Blade, so a bit of a missed opportunity there, but Prey will still be locked down by both Spirit and Acorn as they take out the 80 carry. Deft is on a killing spree as Spirit goes for a double. Everyone wiped out except for Nagne, who was able to go back to Fountain in time as Samsung Blue pushes up against the Nexus turrets. Najin Black Sword, this is farewell as they drop out of Champions once again from the group stages.
Yeah, really disappointing for Najin Black Sword, especially considering how well they played in Champions and Masters up until this point. They really didn't look good tonight. They didn't play aggressively enough, in my opinion. I feel like they had really solid advantages brought to them by Helios in the early game of both games this time around. They won that very critical 2v2 duel, but especially Prey and Kane were very underwhelming tonight.